Everyone knew coming into the 2019 NFL draft, the Indianapolis Colts were going to impact their defense. They were going to add some depth and add some big-time playmakers to the defensive side of the ball. We all know that the Colts with Andrew Luck have a good offense as it is. They didn't really need to touch it much, especially because the offensive line made such great strides last season. The running back position has plenty of depth. The wide receiver position, maybe they could use one guy there, but we knew that they were going to go defense and they were going to hit it hard. So this is my analysis, my thoughts, and my draft grade for the Indianapolis Colts 2019 draft. Let's get into it. Starting off with their first pick, which was in the second round. They ended up trading back in the second round, and they get Rock Ya-Sin, corner from Temple. This is interesting because I think one of the big flaws of the Colts defense last year was not just their secondary, but their secondary's ability to play man-to-man coverage. They play zone very well, and they're very good at kind of sitting back, letting their opponents come to them defensively. They bend, but they don't break. And I think they wanted a little bit more in terms of man-to-man, corners that can go man-to-man. Because in the NFL, in certain situations, you need to play man-to-man. Like, you have to. And Eberflus knows this as the defensive coordinator, and you're not just going to be able to sit back in your cover two all game. So with Rock Ya-Sin, yes, he could probably play well in that cover two scheme, but he can also play man-to-man. That's what he mostly played at Temple, and I think that's what they got him here for. He's also very athletic, and I think he'll add to the secondary. I wouldn't be surprised if he does start right away somewhere at corner, whether that's outside or inside. But Pierre Desir is pretty good. I like him. Kenny Moore, he's okay. They have Quincy Wilson, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rock Ya-Sin is one of the top three corners for this team right away. Then you go to round two, Ben Banogu of TCU, defensive end. I'm kind of surprised they went here. I wouldn't have been surprised if they would have went secondary again, possibly with another corner or possibly, with a safety earlier in this draft in the second round, but instead they won't go with a defensive end. Jabal Sheard, I think, is a really underrated player that they have. Justin Houston, of course, they have is going to play more of a defensive end role. They have Tyquan Lewis, Autry, Hunt, Ridgeway, Taray. They have all these guys along their defensive line, and they add Banogu here. I guess, and they had Muhammad as well. I guess it was needed, that they could have that third pass rusher. Banogu is definitely an end. He's definitely not a D tackle. He's actually more of a DN linebacker type. He ran a 4.62 40-yard dash. He's athletic. He fits the molds of what the Colts want as a defensive end, fits their scheme well. He had 106 tackles, including 34 and a half tackles for loss, 17 sacks in 2 seasons at TCU. And some people were saying that he could play linebacker. I'm not really buying into that, especially in the Colts scheme where you need to be so quick sideline to sideline. I think he fits what they want at defensive end better. So Banogu, not a bad pick here as a depth player. TCU had pretty good defensive line last year, and I think he'll have an impact in a rotation kind of spot his first season. But going forward, he could potentially replace Jabal Sheard on the defensive line. And then going down the list, another second-round pick, which I love, Paris Campbell of Ohio State. I was really high on Paris Campbell coming into this draft. I think he's one of the biggest playmakers at the wide receiver position, and if he can just kind of mold himself into a better route runner, I think he can be a very good receiver in the NFL. 4.31 40-yard dash is one of the most explosive players in this entire class, and he'll give you that sort of trickery player, that sort of player like a Cordell Patterson at times, where he can take a reverse. He could probably give a handoff every once in a while, a screen pass, and he'll take it for a huge gain in a game-breaking play. He also is a field stretcher. He's a deep threat, that sort of guy, and he is really, really good with the ball in his hands. If you give him just a simple drag route over the middle and you dump it for 3-4 yards, he can take that 60. He's that fast. He's that good in the open field. And I think that's honestly the Colts what they needed. They have Devin Funchess. He's a bigger body. They can put him in the slot a little bit or on the outside. They have T.Y. Hilton, who's a for sure number one receiver. Chester Rogers is a decent little slot guy. And then adding Paris Campbell, a speed, game-breaking guy with the ball in his hands, is a really great add for Andrew Luck in this offense. It also helps everybody else out, including the running game and the tight ends. Bobby Okereke, they get from Stanford at linebacker. Very smart guy. 240 tackles, 10.5 sacks in his career at Stanford. And again, another defensive pick here. I think this was a wise pick as well, going after the linebacker position, because they have Darius Leonard, they have Anthony Walker, but they needed some depth behind that. Getting Okereke here, I think, will be immediately their third linebacker in their rotation. He's expected to play more of a middle linebacker role, and I think probably could have a chance to unseat Anthony Walker. I don't think so, but he'll be a nice little player to add to the depth of their linebacking core. They picked Marvel Tell from USC, and Chris Ballard actually, he put a premium on defense in this draft. And this is another guy. We knew that they were going to pick a safety. We knew that they were going to address that position at some point. Some people had them picking Abram as soon as the first round, but instead they go with Tell here at the fifth round out of USC. He had 5 interceptions, 221 tackles at USC, and I think he's going to probably be he'll probably be the third or fourth safety on this team. Quincy Wilson plays a little bit of corner. He can play a little bit of safety, but I think he could probably be the third corner, to be honest. I mean, they don't play a lot of corners or a lot of safeties, though, in their defense. They tend to play more corners, but we'll have to see if they make that adjustment. But he's another guy just to add some depth to their defense. Then they have a great guy with a great name, EJ Speed, one of the best names I've seen in the draft, at linebacker from Tarleton State. 5th round, and he has speed. Yeah, his last name doesn't really, it doesn't really actually go too far from the tree here. Speed has speed, and that's exactly what the Colts like at linebacker. So they just add another guy at linebacker who has speed, who has athleticism, and can play probably more special teams to start, and we'll see if he can contribute. Then they pick Jerry Green, a defensive end in the 6th round, just adding more depth again. The 7th round, they add an offensive tackle, probably just the best player on their board, in Barton from Utah, and a center in Javon Patterson from Ole Miss in the 7th round as well. Probably just 2 picks to add some depth to their offensive line, because you never know when one of your offensive linemen is going to get injured and you're going to need a guy to come in and play. But I like this Colts draft. I think they did what they needed to do. They addressed all their positions of need with at least one player, being corner, safety, linebacker depth, wide receiver. They addressed all of them. I really like the Paris Campbell pick. I really like the Rocky Sin pick, where they got him. And I wasn't sure about Rocky Sin as a first rounder, but second rounder, I'll take it. Ben Banogu, I like that pick as just a depth pick. And overall, I think Chris Ballard just knows what he's doing at this point. He's just figured out the draft. He's getting good value. He's getting players that fit their scheme very well. He's getting players on defense with speed and athleticism. He's getting offensive players that can help out Andrew Luck. And I think the Colts are in position to be one of the contenders in the AFC. Maybe they're not the best team in the AFC, but they're definitely in the conversation. Gronk, spike the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's Mitch of TheBottomLineView. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, again, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Peace.